assassination attempt on Putin is being planned. A U.S. national security expert publicly addresses the Russian president, breaking all protocols. The truth that must be acknowledged to preserve peace. On July 26, 2024, an event occurred that could determine the fate of the entire world. On his official platform, Earth Science Collaborative, Egon Cholakian posted an unusual video titled "The Crossroads." In this video, he breaks all protocols by openly and candidly addressing Russian President Vladimir Putin. From his address, it becomes clear that this unconventional move was necessitated by the gravity of the situation. Let's briefly go over the key points of his address. What do we know about Egon Cholakian? He is an expert in U.S. national security, a federal lobbyist in the U.S. Congress and the White House, and a registered foreign agent with the U.S. Department of Justice's Department of Homeland Security. He has also worked with 4 U.S. presidents, 3 national security advisors, and 1 CIA director. Over the past year, he has repeatedly addressed humanity openly through his media resources, honestly discussing impending climate threats. One of his recent videos, where he shared the results of a large-scale investigation, served as the impetus for our team of journalists to unite and create this platform. Egon Cholakian possesses the necessary expertise and access to crucial information, making his addresses fact-based and deserving of global attention. However, the Crossroads video significantly differs from his previous ones in its openness and the information revealed. Clearly, there is a compelling reason for this. At the beginning of his address, the expert speaks to the creators of the documentary The Impact and, unexpectedly, criticizes the premature release of this material. According to Egon, people are not ready to learn this truth at this moment.
Allow me to clarify my stance. Yes, freedom of speech and independent journalism are foundational values of our democracy. And the emergence of such fundamental journalistic endeavors represents the exercise of the right to free speech and opinion. At first glance, the release of The Impact appears to be good news, as the truth has come to light. However, I must express my primary concern. Humanity is simply not yet ready for this truth. We, particularly my colleagues and I, are well aware of who stands behind the creation of this documentary, who its authors are, and how they acquired the materials from our investigation, some of which they recklessly and prematurely disclosed in the film. I wish to address these evidently courageous but exceedingly impatient individuals who brought this film to fruition. Esteemed creators of the film The Impact, do you realize what you have done? We understand that you were driven by noble motives, love of humanity, altruism, and patriotism. And this is undoubtedly commendable. However, allow me to confront you with the reality that you have outpaced the times. You have publicly disclosed data and materials that were not yet ready to be revealed to the world at large.
However, Egon Cholakian also thanks the authors for their detailed explanation of the manipulation method known as puzzle coding. He emphasized the importance of how the authors meticulously maintained the balance and disclosed only the data that could be publicly shared. According to the expert, this step will undoubtedly have a positive impact.
Moreover, let me highlight another highly positive effect of bringing the problem of puzzle coding into the public eye. A potential shooter may halt their course of action by learning the truth about the real causes of their destructive intentions. Knowing the signs of the influence of the puzzle coding method, a person, upon recognizing bipolar disorder and other symptoms within themselves, can critically reassess their mental framework and motivations. This can lead to restoring critical perception of their thoughts and actions. In such cases, there is a high likelihood that a future shooter, having watched the film The Impact and learned the truth about the origins of their destructive thoughts, will actually abandon their criminal intentions. Thus, the threat of mass shootings worldwide could actually be minimized by 80%, provided that the information about the puzzle coding method gains widespread dissemination.
As a U.S. citizen and a specialist in national security and intelligence, Dr. Cholakian noted that the authors of the documentary The Impact comprehensively revealed the topic of the Civil War in the United States, which is being meticulously prepared by the enemies of democracy in the entire world, followers of global anti-cultism. He further expanded on their information by supplementing it with events from 2023 in Texas. He warned that this incident demonstrated that all the necessary ingredients for a civil conflict desired by global players are in place. The movement for Texas secession is gaining unprecedented momentum, with over 30% of the state's residents ready to support independence, and supporters of Texit elected to leadership positions. Egon also emphasized the disclosed step-by-step plan of shadow forces for seizing power worldwide. He paid particular attention to the topic of the civilizational war and significantly expanded the information presented in the documentary The Impact. The expert provided irrefutable evidence showing how and by whom the civilizational conflict is being prepared.
Right now, we are on the brink of a large-scale civilizational war. This is not an abstract conflict between the West and the East. It is a concrete confrontation between the Islamic world and the rest of the world, which today, by all indications, is being artificially inflamed by a hidden destructive force, global anti-cultism.
After Egon Cholakian's address, the world became aware of the multi-step strategy of global anti-cultism. In this strategy, the uprising of the Muslim world is the third step in their final plan to achieve global disorder. The first step is a civil war in America. The second step involves the disintegration of the European Union, accompanied by the escalation of anti-Muslim sentiments and severe violations of Muslim rights. The third step entails large-scale Muslim uprisings in Europe, followed by the involvement of prominent Islamic states under the pretext of protecting their fellow believers. The ultimate outcome of this escalation is a planned nuclear conflict unleashed in the Middle East.
The culmination of this scenario is as follows. Major Islamic geopolitical players, taking advantage of the weakened and torn apart America and Europe, will decide on a global retaliatory step, a full-scale military intervention using nuclear weapons in revenge for years of oppression, hatred, and humiliation. This scenario includes the mandatory use of nuclear weapons by Islamic countries, which will undoubtedly trigger retaliatory nuclear strikes. Given the significant imbalance of nuclear arsenals between Islamic and non-Islamic countries, such a confrontation will inevitably result in catastrophic consequences for the Islamic world. It will be a terrible tragedy for all humanity.
In our observation, Egon Cholakian always views situations holistically and objectively. Therefore, he also touched on the topic of the climate threat, which significantly alters the future of the planet and any plans. He provided facts indicating the futility of the global anti-cultism followers' attempts to implement their multi-step strategy.
The forces of global anti-cultism are so focused on honing their dark plans for world domination and conserving fossil resources for themselves that they either do not see or prefer to ignore the elephant in the room, the primary threat that can put a definitive end to any of their meticulously crafted strategies. This threat is the rapid and catastrophic climate change. What kind of conservation of natural resources can we talk about if, in 2 or 3 decades, our planet will only be habitable for extremophiles and tardigrades, capable of surviving even in Martian conditions? Indeed, we risk repeating the fate of Mars within the next 10 years.
Particular attention should be given to the situation in Russia, where, according to the expert, the government made a fatal mistake by banning the international public movement Allatra. 10 years prior, unique experimental equipment was developed with the involvement of scientists associated with the international Allatra movement. This equipment was installed in Russia from 2013 to August 2023.
This equipment allowed the minimization of extreme climate phenomena. After the Allatra movement was declared undesirable in Russia, the operation of the experimental equipment was duly halted. The consequences were not long in coming. Destructive storms, abnormal snowfalls, and hurricanes, and increased intensity began to attack Russian territories. You can clearly see on a graph how effectively these phenomena were contained and how sharply the situation deteriorated after the equipment was turned off. This immediately reflected a rapid increase in the number of severity and extreme climate events.
Despite open warnings, the authorities ignored them, and the result was not long in coming.
In 2024, Russia was overwhelmed by unprecedented floods, squalls, and tornadoes. Neighboring countries, China, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Eastern Europe also felt the negative consequences of the equipment shutdown. This year, they are especially suffering from relentless natural disasters. The equipment was installed in Russia because Siberia is a crucial hotspot for the planet's abnormal heating. Now that the equipment is deactivated, nothing is mitigating the situation, and it will only worsen in Russia and globally.
Let's skip ahead a bit and add a fragment from Egon Cholakian's personal address to Vladimir Putin, which pertains to this situation.
Mr. Putin, let's speak the language of mathematics. Look at these shocking numbers. The graph clearly demonstrates the amount of losses sustained by Russia's budget due to climate disasters from the moment the equipment was shut down in August of 2023 to the present day, July 2024. The total losses amount to 114 billion rubles. Now compare this sum of losses over the 11-month period with those over the 10-year period while the equipment was operational. Over 10 years, the losses amounted to only 191 billion rubles. Are you not alarmed that the economic damage over 11 months is almost equal to that of a decade? You have lost nearly as much in just 1 year as you did in the previous decade. This is not just statistics, it is the real-time devastation of your country's budget. Consider another fact. In 2022, the total losses from climate damage amounted to around 7 billion rubles for the entire year, while in 2024, a single climate disaster in Orenburg cost you 40 billion rubles. And this is just the beginning.
Let's move on to the unexpected and highly emotional part of Egon Cholakian's address. Breaking all protocols and using open media resources, he directly addressed the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. We were genuinely struck by the candor and invaluable significance of this address. Now we understand why it was made public. From the title, The Crossroads, we understood that this is the moment of truth, and the coming months are decisive. But we could not have imagined that the stakes were this high. Hence, this candid conversation is happening in front of the entire world. Essentially, with this step, Egon Cholakian involves us in matters of global significance and shows that each of us is not only a direct witness, but also a participant whose actions will influence the outcome.
Today's speech will be significantly different from previous ones. In light of the disclosed information, I now have the opportunity to speak openly and directly, calling things by their names. This new level of transparency will allow for clearer communication about the challenges facing the global community. I sincerely hope that the message I am delivering today will be a message of peace, a catalyst for significant changes, and a step towards establishing a constructive intergovernmental dialogue to address the looming climate threat. Mr. Putin, I am addressing you today as the head of a state, an experienced politician, an officer, and above all, a human being. Now when the situation is at its breaking point, simply human understanding may be the last chance to preserve the future of this planet. That is why I will speak to you as frankly as possible. Please forgive any emotional outburst in my speech. I am confident that you, more than anyone else, understand what it means to bear responsibility for the lives of millions and to make decisions where the slightest mistake can have catastrophic consequences. First and foremost, I urge you to wake up and see what is happening in your country. If you are a person who relies on facts, then look at the facts.
From the address, it becomes clear that Vladimir Putin is surrounded by forces of global anti-cultism. They manipulate him and obstruct access to a significant amount of vital and reliable information. On many key issues, they mislead the leader of such a vast country.
Look closely at those who stand behind you. Yes, we know that you have intentionally created competing groups within your inner circle. You aim to maintain a balance of power, ensuring that you remain the unrivaled player in this complex political game. You tried to position the pieces on the chessboard so that no one could defeat you. Your strategy was brilliant, but face the truth. One of these factions has outplayed not only its rivals, but you as well. Now, while you believe you have everything under control, the reality is that this group has been manipulating you for quite some time. You are following the rules they dictate. Can't you see how methodically they are eliminating your faithful supporters and replacing them with puppets who serve their misanthropic agendas? I'm about to tell you something that no one else dares to say. And do you know why? Because unlike those people you have surrounded yourself with, I want nothing from you. No power, no money, no privileges. The only thing I want is for you to regain your common sense.
Egon Cholakian's personal address contains a vast array of facts, details, and meanings, necessitating a separate, thorough analysis, which we will provide in our following material. For now, let's outline the key topics he touched upon: the resurgence of Nazism in Russia, and the construction of the Fourth Reich by those who once played an invaluable role in defeating the Third Reich.
The specific examples of the signs of fascism in your country that I have mentioned today are just the tip of the iceberg. I have intentionally refrained from delving into all the details to avoid overloading my monologue. I am confident that you, as the leader of a great nation, possess enough discernment to recognize these alarming trends yourself. Answer one simple question, honestly and first of all to yourself. Which of the known signs of fascism are absent in the state under your leadership today? I fear the answer is obvious. All the signs are present. Moreover, in your country, right before your eyes, Nazism is forming in its most dangerous hidden form. The only remaining question is this: do you, President Putin, realize what is happening? It is quite possible that you genuinely believe you are fighting Nazism without noticing how true Nazis behind your back are gradually transforming Russia into the Fourth Reich.
The manipulation of the president by certain representatives of the Russian Orthodox Church.
Mr. Putin, why do you not see how you are being turned into a Führer? Your closest associates are persistently convincing you of the existence of some higher duty of sacred significance. The top religious leaders of the country are deliberately creating an aura of messianism and divine purpose around you. As early as 2001, a high-ranking church hierarch described your appointment, President Putin, as God's grace. Today, this tendency has reached unprecedented proportions. There is an overt sacralization of your image as the leader of the state. Your authority is presented as being directly bestowed by God, and your image is positioned as the ruler of Holy Russia. A key figure in creating this aura of your chosen status is a former KGB agent, businessman, billionaire, and nominal current religious leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, Gundayev, who holds the title of Patriarch. Although Mr. Gundayev is a religious figure of the Christian Orthodox Church, in reality he acts as a political figure actively promoting a militaristic agenda. He regularly uses language and arguments that echo the rhetoric of the predecessors of modern anti-cultists, who played a vital role in the development of Nazi ideology in the past.
The hidden force behind Putin, within his inner circle, manipulates him.
Open your eyes. These ideologues of modern Nazism are not just playing with you. They have turned you into a pawn in their game, a game whose rules you do not know. Those you trust lead you towards isolation and confrontation, destroying all chances for progress and international cooperation. Your entourage applauds your every step, but these are applause on the way to the abyss. They are not rejoicing in your successes, but in their growing power over you. And while you indulge in the illusion of power, they have almost achieved their goals. You do not see most of what is really happening. You are being played just like the whole of Russia and the rest of the world by true grand masters whose existence you are not even aware of. But the most frightening thing is that some of these puppet masters are in your closest circle, among those you shake hands with. If they were not close to you, they would not be able to so methodically destroy democracy and instill Nazi ideology in your country.
The preparation of an assassination attempt on the president.
You have been balancing on the edge of an abyss for a very long time. Those you considered allies can turn into your executioners at any moment. They will stop at nothing to maintain control and execute their plans. Are you confident in the people who stand behind you? Yes, your security seems reliable, but think about it. Can you be sure that among them there is no assassin recruited by the Nazis? Do you trust your inner circle? Reflect on this. Orders that contradict your own come from somebody among them. Someone initiated the destruction of democracy you aspire to. Someone has been systematically brainwashing you all this entire time. Someone has been destroying your country. I will say you even more. As a colleague to a colleague, yes, I know there have been attempts on your life, and your services have worked excellently in preventing these attempts, partly thanks to our cooperation. But listen to me and ask yourself this particular question. Why did one of the people close to you recently acquire a contact poison, and from good allies no less? What do you think the purpose was, and more specifically, for whom? The truth is, those who control you have long been planning your replacement. The problem was only with your successor. But at this point, they have almost resolved this issue, with your help skillfully manipulating you. You unknowingly are bringing to power those they want to see in your place. You are a smart person, Mr. Putin. So think, you are up against true grand masters. Unfortunately, your current situation resembles a classic zugzwang, where any move you make plays into their hands and only worsens your position. Consider, are you not at risk of repeating Stalin's fate? But these are your affairs, not ours. And it is up to you to deal with them.
The proposal for a personal meeting.
From my side, I am prepared to provide you with much more information. This concerns the future of your country, not vague predictions, but scientifically based forecasts by year. You need to know that your country is on the brink of a catastrophe, the scale of which you cannot even imagine.
The preparation for the physical elimination of key representatives of the international public movement, Allatra.
I am also well aware of, to put it mildly, the deep animosity of certain individuals' inner circle towards me personally. Moreover, I have reliable information from a trusted source that one of your close associates, someone you frequently dine with, has given the order to prepare an operation for my physical elimination. This order also includes the liquidation of several key representatives of the Allatra organization. I am profoundly concerned that the respected Igor Mikhailovich Danilov is on this hit list as well. With all seriousness, I emphasize that Igor Mikhailovich is a figure of genuine exceptional stature. He possesses deep knowledge that is key to ultimately overcoming the global climate challenge. Mr. Danilov's unique understanding of climatic processes and exceptional forecasting abilities are invaluable and irreplaceable for solving this problem.
The address to wolves in sheep's clothing.
I also want to address the person who gave this order and those who were planning to carry it out. Are you prepared to destroy the only people capable of preventing climate catastrophe? Suppose you succeeded. History shows that any person can be killed. Even Jesus Christ was crucified in his time. But what then? After crucifying us now, what will you do about the climate? How do you plan to stop the impending climate catastrophe? Let me put it metaphorically. Try to extinguish burning oil on a hot pan with water is very dangerous. It will explode. I hope you understand my point.
Egon Cholakian, concluded his address with a message to the true officers who still remain in the Russian Federation. Here we will provide the full text of his message, as we see not only his words, but also much that was said between the lines.
Mr. Putin, I know that your adversaries will attempt to conceal or distort the information I have presented today, or even prevent my message from reaching you. However, I am deeply convinced that true officers still remain in Russia. During my time working in Russia, I had the distinct honor and pleasure to routinely meet such individuals. Therefore, I know that for true Russian officers, Russia is not merely a territory for realizing their potential, but a homeland they have sworn to defend. It is on them that I place my hopes, on the true patriots of Russia who care about the future of their country, those who uphold the pride of their fathers and grandfathers who defeated Nazism, and being true officers will never bow before it. And now I want to address you specifically, officers who have remained faithful to your oath, who have preserved your honor and dignity in these difficult times for Russia. There was a time when Russia was on the brink. Your wise predecessors came to Boris Yeltsin. They opened his eyes to what was happening in Russia under his leadership. They told him then what to do and who to appoint as his successor. That successor was Vladimir Putin. At that time, it was absolutely the right decision, which subsequently allowed for the preservation of your country's integrity. And now, dear officers, it is your turn to open President Putin's eyes to the truth about what is really happening in your country behind his back. Do everything possible to ensure that President Putin hears my appeal to him directly. Convey to him the information presented in the film, The Impact. Only then can you save Russia and the world. And only together can we defeat both Nazism and the climate threat. And to you, Mr. Putin, I strongly recommend familiarizing yourself with the information in the film, The Impact. Since these materials have gained public attention, which will inevitably lead to severe consequences, it is critically important that you are personally informed about these facts. This is not only for understanding the full depth of the situation we all find ourselves in, but also to ensure you have the opportunity to take the necessary measures. In a world where power is valued above humanity, and where power belongs to madmen, we are all standing on the edge of an abyss. I appeal to your reason, your humanity. I believe you have not entirely lost touch with reality and understand the immense responsibility that comes with your position. Remember, time is working against us. Every minute of delay plays into the hands of those who seek chaos and destruction. So disrupt their plans while you still have real power and capabilities. Do not miss this critical moment. You have long been told that you are the chosen one, the Savior. So, become one.
The moment will go down in history as a turning point. We are proud to be not only witnesses, but also indirect participants in potential positive changes. In the age of information technology, every person contributes to shaping the future of the entire planet. Do not underestimate the importance of your own choices. The more people who study this address and spread it as widely as possible, the greater the chances that it will reach its intended recipient, overcoming all obstacles. Positive changes will then inevitably occur, not only in a specific country, but also on the entire geopolitical stage. We are grateful to Mr. Egon Cholakian for his courage, integrity, candor, and care for all humanity.